Hey, welcome to another episode of the Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters podcast. Give me 1 second. There we go. Get this thing live. Ooh, Facebook finally updated its live streaming session. So this goes way faster now. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters podcast. Today, we've got a really powerful tactical training for each and every one of you here today. What we're going to be covering is the hidden art of patient retention inside your practice, where to find the hidden profits and how to increase your patient retention if you run a cash practice. So most clinical owners focus all of their energy on getting new patients in the door. People contact us every single day to learn how to acquire more leads inside of their practice. But what if the real goal was in keeping the patients that you've already got? So in this episode of the Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters podcast, we're going to dive deep into the overlooked art of patient retention and why it's the most reliable path to a profitable, stable, and just unlocking long-term success inside of your cash practice. So I'm going to be interviewing Ben on this because this is a topic he and I have talked about thousands of times for years, and he's a wealth of knowledge on this with incredible numbers that we'll talk about here today. That have led to his practice being so scalable and so profitable that allowed him to do many of the things that he's done in his life. So if you want a free practice app audit call to learn how to implement some of the patient retention strategies that we're teaching inside of this podcast to supercharge the effectiveness and the profitability of the marketing that you're already doing, make sure you go to clinicalmarketer.com and apply to work with us. We can see how we might be able to help. Ben, ready to get started, dude? So when did you realize that retention was the key to profitability inside of your practice?
Really within the first 6 months. Everybody focused on new patients, and I was in the same boat, just so focused on lead generation. Thought that was the main thing that was most important. And I just started doing some simple math on this and looking at how can I get my schedule more full. And it was simply retaining more of the patients I already had. So for example, let's say a clinic, and this is common for a clinic to average 5 visits per plan of care.
Yeah.
Right? Average visit five visits per plan of care is not bad. It's not great. If you can just double that to 10 visits per plan of care, you need half the leads as you would if you were at 5. I promise you it's much easier to double how long somebody stays with you and works with you than it is to double your lead and your acquisition on the front end.
Yeah.
So that's a big key piece to it. Otherwise, you literally need twice as many leads. And the problem with that too is, especially as you grow and scale, and if you want to really truly grow and scale, you're going to need to spend more on Facebook ads to acquire those patients. And so, but if you just retain them better, you don't have to be spending so much. So your profit goes up as well.
Right. So the lower your retention, the lower your profit, the more you need to spend on marketing in further decreasing your overall profitability. So if you're listening to this, consider this. There's 2 practices. There's your practice and another practice that's in town serving the exact same population, same model. Who's in a better position to win? The practice who can only retain people for 5 visits, or the practice that can retain them for 9 to 10 visits? Obviously practice B. And not only that, but they have to work far less hard than the practice that's constantly having to hustle for new patients. That takes time, that costs money. But if you can just retain them, which is way easier, because to me, it's more about relationships, and we're going to talk about it. But if you can retain your patients longer, your marketing costs go way down, your profitability goes way up, and the amount of effort it takes to actually grow becomes really, really easy. Because I imagine you retain patients longer, you're going to get more referrals, more reviews.
Yep, exactly.
You see a correlation with that, Ben?
You're getting better. You're getting more long-term results for people. You're getting more life-changing results for people. And they're much more likely to tell somebody else about it. And I hear this all the time too from physical therapists of they brag about, oh yeah, I can get somebody. I don't need 10 visits to get somebody to, out of pain, Like, okay, well, the thing is, we're not trying to, like, again, it depends on what your practice, how your practice is structured, but my practice isn't designed to
Yeah.
get people out of pain. You can go to massage therapy, you can go to chiropractor, you can go to that. But what you can't get is the connection and the relationship and the experience
Yep.
and us helping them so much further than just getting out of pain. We're helping them,
Mm.
like, we don't want to get them back to baseline. That's how they sustain the injury in the first place, right? And that's what every other physical therapy clinic is doing. It's just getting people out of pain, getting them back to baseline. They hurt themselves again. But the problem is the physical therapist that brags about getting somebody out of pain in 3 to 5 visits and not needing 10 visits is the same PT that doesn't have anybody come back to them because
Yeah.
that pain came back. And the patient's like, well, I'm not going to call them again. They didn't get me, the pain came back, right? But the PT that got them out of pain thinks that they're all high and mighty because they got them
Yeah.
better in 3 or 5 visits, letting them know, like, little do they know, 6 months later, it popped back up and the patient's actually unsatisfied with the results. But the PT does never know that because they never reach back out, right? So that's the thing too,
Yeah.
is we get life-changing results for people. So yeah, reviews go up, referrals go up. So we don't even have to spend as much on marketing and on Facebook ads as well.
Right.
So it's
Do you feel like that's the consequence of efficiency and productivity standards being jammed down PTs' throats, that when they finally burn out, they transition into working in a cash-based clinic or starting a cash-based clinic, but now they still have this mindset of like, I need to get them out as quickly as possible, where their focus isn't on prevention. It's not on like leading them to a healthier, longer, more active life. It's just about getting them out of shoulder pain, not guiding them to a better lifestyle that would have prevented this from happening
for
to
sure.
begin
It's
with.
honestly like brainwash. It's like brainwashing.
Yeah.
I hired on a physical therapist. He's still with us today and one of our best PTs. He's amazing. He came to us with, he has obviously his doctorate in physical therapy. He had his master's in kinesiology. He had his
Mm.
CSCS and also his OCS. And he was like discharging people after like 4 or 5 visits. Like, they're out of pain. Like, you've got your master's in kinesiology, you have your CSCS, you have your OCS. You don't think you can help somebody outside of just getting out of pain? What about performance? You have like the best background to help somebody from a performance realm, and you're not doing that. And it took us a good 6 months to rewire how he was thinking about things. He had worked in an insurance-based clinic for 3.5 years. And the thing is, you don't really get that chance to work on that performance aspect of things. So it's it was foreign to him, which is insane because he's like one of the top credentialed on paper PTs to help somebody exactly with that. But he struggled with it because of
Right.
the framework and environment that he was in for 3.5 years.
Yeah. And it's funny because PTs all talk about like prevention and longevity, but they can't like rewrite the code that they received their doctorate with. Like that, they were so indoctrinated into that thinking where it's like, get them in, get them out. It's order based healthcare rather than, focusing on like, okay, you're a runner, you came in for this ankle injury, why did this happen to begin with? What are the likely other injuries you are, likely to experience as you continue to, run more often? Like, how can we prevent those and make you an all around better, higher performing runner to
Right.
begin with? It's like, that's where I think the future is. It's how we're going to change, like how people think about what healthcare is, but it starts with PTs stepping up and actually being willing to lead people to that like better perspective and
Right.
future.
Right. We don't discharge patients. We don't even use the word discharge. If you're discharging
Mm,
patients, you're being lazy, in my opinion. You're
yeah.
not critically thinking about, hey, what's the next logical step of how I can leverage my skill set to help this person further than just getting out of pain.
Yeah.
So I tell my PTs when we're onboarding them, and they're just getting started with us, I'm like, physical therapy is like 33% of what we do. We have the 3-step
Mm,
process. The first step is the physical therapy aspect of it. It's really 33%. And that's what makes us different. If you just want to help people get out of pain, we're not the clinic for you. So all these other clinics are just working at 33% capacity of what we're actually doing. We don't discharge patients. Ethically.
interesting. So I know there's a lot of people listening to this. It's like red flags are going up probably because it goes against the grain of what they've been taught and the philosophy that they might currently have. So tell us a little bit more about like what your mindset is around patient retention. Is it a clinical perspective? Is it more just relationship based? Is it purely operational? Like, what is your philosophy around patient
Yeah, I mean, first
retention?
things first is nobody's going to work with you if they don't like you, if they don't know, like, and trust. So
Yeah.
first things first is relationship. None of that really matters unless they trust you and you have built that relationship with them. So
Right.
that's first things first. And then second is obviously clinical. And you're also doing the retention. You can do retention unethically or ethically. Unethically is where you just get somebody hooked on manual therapy.
Yeah. Or rack
Right,
and crack
right. Like, yeah,
chiros.
your spine's out of
Right.
place. You need to come back to get your spine aligned every other day. You know, that's
Right.
right.
Right. You're gonna need to come in every
Yeah,
day after work because of that
yeah.
chair you
It's
sit in.
they come
Yeah.
back not because they need us, but because they want to continue to level up. They want to become better versions of themselves. So like for example, like if we work with a runner, they come in, they haven't ran for like 6 months. And they're like, yeah, we ask them, what are your goals? Oh, I'd love to get back to just be able to run a mile. Okay, well, people are just going to set the bar really low when they first come in when they haven't ran for 6 months. They have this pre-made up story about what they can and cannot get back to because it's been going on for so long, right? That's normal.
Right.
And so patients come in and they're back to running a mile, let's say like the third or fourth visit, and most clinics be like, okay, you're done, you got your goal. No, like we challenge them like, hey, I joke with patients like, hey, you set the bar super low, and I told you that from day one. But I understand you've been dealing with this for a while. It's normal to think like that. Okay, you're back. I told you you'd be back sooner than you thought. So on the fourth visit, I'm like, all right, great, you're back to that 1 mile. What are some things that you want to truly you've always wanted to do? Like if you could snap your fingers and do any running related goal that you've always aspired to do, what would it be? Well, that goal for me just, when we first started was getting that mile. That was my big milestone because haven't been able to run for 6 months. But now that since they made
Yeah.
progress, they can start thinking higher level, like see that,
Yep.
hey, actually more is possible. Again, goes back to that relationship piece. They trust me because I predicted this. Like you're setting the bar low,
Nice.
you're going to be meeting this goal. You need to start thinking about higher level goals. They don't really believe you in that moment yet. But then when it comes
Mhm.
true, now you built that trust. And like, hey, what would you clearly you set the bar too low. All right. What would you if you could snap your fingers and do anything run related, what would it be? Oh, I'd love to do a half
Right.
marathon. I've always wanted dreamed of doing a half marathon. Injuries always got in the way. Great. That's what we're gonna work
Yeah.
on. We're gonna map out how to get you to that half marathon. What's the date that you want us to complete that by? Oh, I'd love to do it in the next year. Great. Let's reverse engineer and we're going to figure out how to get that accomplished in the next 6 to 12 months. So you can run that half marathon and train for it. Right now I'm helping them with performance. I'm helping them complete something that they never thought was possible. Now this
Right.
is how you sell people on continuity and performance and all that too, right? So you can see I'm not getting them hooked on manual therapy. I'm actually helping them reset their framework of what's possible when it comes to their ability to perform as an athlete. Now they're coming back to be able to achieve something they've never been able to achieve before. That's what makes us different. That's
Right.
why people just can't get that at other clinics.
Right. That's a really good perspective to have where it's like most of your competitors and most of you maybe listening to this podcast, you're still selling pain relief or maybe you're selling outcomes. The key difference that Ben, you just mentioned, like it sounds more like you're selling an ideal identity and um, their potential. You're selling peak potential and identity, which is probably why you're able to charge what it is you have, yet people are still sticking around for what 9.1 visits
Yep.
on average,
Yep.
which is incredible. And so those of you listening, ask yourself, what is it that I'm actually selling to people? How am I framing the services that I have? And is that in alignment with the goal that I have for my patients as well as for the business? Because obviously the what you gain from shifting what it is that you're actually selling to more of an identity and to helping people reach their potential, that's a very, very different product that's going to have a very different impact on the scalability and profitability of your business. So if you haven't sat down and thought about like, what is my philosophy? What is my ultimate vision for every single one of my patients? And then see how that aligns with what it is that you're pitching them when you're actually going through your initial eval, and start to analyze and critique what it is you're actually looking at. If you feel like you have an opportunity to increase your retention. So let's go into this, Ben. How do you define good retention in a cash practice? Like, what numbers should people be looking
Yeah,
at?
so the biggest one is average visits per plan of care. How long are people sticking around? How many people are enrolling in continuity or continuity program on the back end? So those are the two things that we look at primarily.
I love it. So when did you implement a continuity program? Because I know that's a big piece, an easy add-on that hundreds of our clients have added into their clinic under, our leadership that has helped them create not only monthly recurring revenue, but substantially increase their average visits per patient as well. Like, when did you implement that inside
About
your
6 to
practice?
9 months in. It was formally already kind of there, but it wasn't like named, and it wasn't on a recurring basis. Like, hey, you complete your package, you can come back on a per visit basis as you want, right? Now it's more of a membership base where it's charged on a monthly basis, right?
Yep.
It's a more formal program. So that was set up about, right around the 9-month mark of starting ProKinetics.
Yeah. One of my first business coaches, Steve Larson, he specializes in offer creation. And he didn't come up with this, but he was the first person to teach me it. But he said your revenue and your profitability has a direct correlation with how many offers you make. And a lot of you, being clinicians first and not thinking from a business perspective as often, just aren't making enough offers. There's always going to be a percentage of people that say yes. And so if you don't have other offerings, if you don't have a continuity program, if you don't have a membership program, if you don't have some referral program, well, then you're missing out on a ton of opportunity. You're leaving a ton of stuff on the table, because if you just offer it to every single one of your patients, there's a percentage of them that will always say yes. And so love that you're already doing that, Ben. What percentage of your patients stick around for that retention or the
what we're
continuity
working
program?
towards is we want to be up to 40% of our total revenue to be recurring.
Woo.
So right now we're right around 25%. So, but we're going at a pretty good clip. I'm hoping that we can be at that 40% mark this time next year for sure. So we're trying to.
I love it. I love it. Now, I have a feeling I know what our listeners are thinking and asking in their heads right now. What's like one thing that you can start doing in the first visit that lays the foundation for a more long-term relationship, that tees up the long-term thinking, the identity frame, and pre-framing them potentially on the continuity that you plan to offer
So
them?
actually offering continuity causes psychological shift too. There's proof that, hey, I'm going to get this result. Like, hey, why would I? So it actually stops. It starts even before that first visit. We're talking about on the first phone call. So we walk them through it. Hey, we got our 3-step process. First phase is to get you out of pain. Okay, that's going to get you back to baseline. Phase 2, and this is where it's missed by all the other clinics. They're just going to discharge you after you're out of pain. We want to figure out, hey, why did this happen in the first place? Fix it so it doesn't happen again. And then phase 3 is we're looking at the rest of the body and making sure no other injury is going to pop up and making sure you're bulletproof. And then after that, after we've gone through those 3 phases, our patients enroll into our continuity performance program, right? Because they're like, hey, I tell this exact same story that I just told earlier about the runner. Tell them like, hey, a lot of people come in with these goals and they realize they set the bar so low because they're in a bad spot. But as they make progress and they start hitting these goals and milestones, they're like, hey, I've been selling myself short. I have way more potential here. So then those are the types of people that want, again, I label the individual. Like, you sound like a person that's exactly who wants to enroll in our continuity program. There's somebody that wants more for themselves. They want to operate at peak performance and they want to become the best version of themselves. Those are the types of people that enroll in continuity after they're done with physical therapy. So I'm setting that stage on that first phone call. And then I'm, again, reinforcing it on that first visit as well.
I love it. So you're pre-framing the long-term relationship from the very first phone call, as well as bringing that up in the initial session. Like, now, how do you actually communicate that to them? Like you said, like, no, you seem just like, the type of person that wants to reach their ultimate potential, and just like all the other people that join our continuity program. Like, how does that come up in conversation? At what point during the initial evaluation?
So it comes up during the phone call at the end, like when I'm explaining like how everything works with us. I'm like, hey, this is how physical therapy works. It's what you can expect. Setting expectations is huge. So that's usually at the end of the phone call, towards the end after we've asked them everything that's going on, yada yada. I'm not going to go in the full phone script today, but towards the end of the call when we're explaining how things work with us. During the eval, it's towards the end. So with phone, you're limited to just visual. You're just limited to audio. Not everybody learns that way. Some people are also visual learners. So we also have a poster in each treatment room that we pull up and walk them through exactly the patient journey of what this looks like, so they can visualize themselves too. Just going a little bit more in depth into it, but we do also do visual too during that initial box.
Visuals cannot be underestimated. I know that we call it Mount Dumore. It's a 3-step process. Some things that I love that you've done inside of yours that we've now taken and taught to hundreds of people at this point, where it's like getting them out of pain, solving the root cause, improving their performance. But then there's also a line in there that highlights when a lot of people will actually be out of pain, so that you can overcome the objection that you're going to get later on of like, well, I'm not in pain anymore. Do I really need more sessions? You have it right then and there where it's like, hey, around the 3rd or 4th session, this pain's actually going to go away. But the root of the issue isn't gone yet. So it's just going to come back. And so you call attention to it right then and there with the visual that helps prevent that drop off and increase that retention because they've been pre-framed and prepared for it. Use visuals as much as you can. We started using them in our ads after people opt in for any of our clinics, like vouchers or offers that we have going on the booking page. All we did was add a very simple Canva graphic that says, step 1, 2, and 3, claim your voucher, schedule your consultation, speak with the doctor. Very simple. And just by adding that graphic that visualized the process they're about to go through, it increased the booking rate by 38%. Just by having a graphic. So definitely add them to your treatment rooms. If you're running ads, definitely add them to the booking pages within your funnels, because it's outrageous.
You made a really good point about the pain piece. That's something to really double down on. Once we get to that, I'm like, hey, you think you're in the most dangerous spot right now? You're not. The most dangerous spot is around the 3rd visit. It's between phase 1 and phase 2 when people start feeling good. It's dangerous for 2 reasons. You're going to push a little bit harder in your workouts because you're feeling better, and we haven't addressed the root issue yet, right? We're just trying to get you out of pain. You're going to be feeling really good, really excited, and you're going to be more likely to push it harder in the gym and re-injure yourself. It's also dangerous for another reason. Patients during this time are feeling so good that they want to start spacing out their visits or stopping altogether. We're just getting started. Okay. This is the most dangerous spot, and where most people fail is going from phase 1 or phase 2. So planting that seed, if somebody states that they want to drop off, or like, hey, I need to cancel my upcoming appointment, I'm feeling really good. Hey, Ms. Smith, do you remember how we talked about this? Most dangerous phase is exactly where you're at right now. It's dangerous because of the action you're trying to take. We talked about that.
And you're going to end up spending more and more money because you're going to have to keep bouncing from place to place thinking that no one can fix this. But in reality, it's because you're giving up too soon.
Exactly. So, we have not addressed the root issue. When we see this, everybody hurts themselves, restarts. You're going to spend more money on this and more frustration in the long run.
Right. And each time they do it, it's probably going to it can get more and more severe. And then after so many repetitions, they're just going to listen to, their physician or somebody and just get surgery and completely screw themselves. Okay. Okay. So, that's what people can do right now. If you're experiencing a lot of people dropping off from your packages or just not completing their recommended plans of care, that is exactly what you should do. You should go back. You should listen to that. Use a Mount Dumore graphic. Show them the entire journey. Educate them on when most people drop off and the most dangerous spot to be, because now it's like you're preventing these issues from happening altogether and getting complete buy-in from the patient, regardless of, if they're used to insurance. Now they understand the whole process and they're not going to start to doubt you when things start to get better. I love that. Are there any other specific touch points, like emails, texts, follow-ups that you do with your patients while they're going through their plan of care to help improve engagement between visits and, of course, increase retention?
So at the end of each visit, every single visit, we do what's called the final 5. And this is where a lot of, and I know definitely our physical therapists that start with us, and also just physical therapists in general that are in the cash-based model for the first time, they think that the thing that provides most value is more exercises. They go up to, like, it's an hour-long session, they go up to
the biggest commodity of all.
to minute 59 with just nothing but exercise and think that's the value. And then the last minute is super rushed, right? So we actually encourage our PTs to start wrapping up sessions around the 45-minute mark, or again, our sessions are an hour long. Start wrapping things up around the 45-minute mark, go back to the treatment room and make sure that you have, the patients have time to ask questions. And we do the final 5. It's kind of more like final 10 is what I encourage. 10 minutes at the end is 1, ask them you recap what occurred during the session. Okay. We went over this because it's going to help you X. Okay. Yep. These are the exercises I've added. Doing these exercises are going to help you with X. They're going to be more compliant with their home exercise program if they understand why the exercise is helping them, what it's addressing, and why it's going to help them get back to their end goal. Right. So compliance there. 2, I ask them, I tell them, hey, this is my plan for the next session. We're going to be working on X, Y, and Z. This is going to help you get back to X, Y, and Z. So it gives them incentive to come back and pre-frames what is going to occur. Right. Nice. Also, I ask them, like, hey, Davi, this is my game plan, but it's equally important as what's important to you for next session. What's the number one thing that you want to tackle next session? For example, like runner, like, hey, I'd love to have, like, let's say it's their first follow-up session or the second follow-up session. Like, actually, next session, I'd love for you to just look at my shoe tread. I want answers like, hey, I want to start looking at my running mechanics or something like that. Right? Great. We can definitely do that. Now they're much more likely to keep their appointment because they're coming back for something that's meaningful to them.
Right.
Okay? And then we're relating that back. Great. We can definitely do that because that's going to help you get back to X, Y, and Z. Right. So,
and then it feels hyper personalized and tailored around exactly what they want, which is complete contrast to any other clinic that may have gone to.
And one of my favorite things is that also at the beginning of the session, patients always ask, how was your day? Or we ask, how was your day? And they reciprocate, how was your day? I love just telling a story of like, hey, actually having a great day. A patient very similar to you actually just came in yesterday. They're in a similar boat. I tell pretty much their exact story back to them and just pre-frame what's about to happen to them. Like, they were in a tough spot. They're having a hard time with running. Now they're back to running a mile. They were exactly where you were at. Now they've been working with me we're going on 12 months now. Now they're working with me on the continuity program. I tell them briefly what that looks like for them. Like, hey, they ran their first half marathon. They've been working with me the last 6 months on that. Day's been great. I just plant that seed. Some patients will ask, like, automatically, hey, what's the continuity program? They'll ask you. Again, you're not trying to get commitment there. You're just planting that seed that is so they can see themselves in that same situation. So when you bring it up and start asking if they want to do it, this isn't foreign to them. They've already heard it. They've already heard somebody else just like them that's already gone through it. And so you're not selling it. You're just briefly mentioning it.
Yep. Setting seeds of belief every session you can. I love it. Is there anything else in the final 5? So we got, recap the whole session, make sure they understand why you're recommending what you recommend, plan the next section and get buy-in from them by having them say what it is that they want to do, because now they have ownership over that next session, which is brilliant, by the way. There's a lot of psychology in that one where they start to design it to help prevent the drop-off of the next thing, because they now have like ownership over like the plan of what they're doing next time.
Yep.
Love that. What
obviously just making sure all the sessions are scheduled out. That's the thing too. Do not
schedule
session. They should be all scheduled out on that. And then you can talk about, depends on where they're at in the process. Like if they're jumping from one phase to the next or getting close to that, like when they're close to approaching the next phase, to talk about that as well.
Yeah. That's a really good one. A lot of our clients, I know, like Colin, who's nearby me. He's the physical therapist that I go to. Also one of our mastermind clients. He was scheduling visits as he goes. Like he was selling packages, but only scheduling the visits at the end of each and every session. And when he stopped doing that and he scheduled all of the visits out preemptively, it increased his like average visits, which was around like 5 to 7. And so it was a really, really, really easy adjustment that saved him time in future sessions with that person. And that's the only thing that he changed.
It's one of the most simple things that logistically, one of the lowest hanging fruits to make a big difference.
Yep. So simple. So simple. I love it. Okay. So you have those touch points at the end of each session. Is there anything that you're doing during their plan of care? Like if we know that they're dropping off around the 4th visit, is there anything that you're doing outside of the visits to keep them
we also
around?
send email follow-ups, and then also at the end of a session, we do a quality assurance check. Essentially, they rank like how likely are they to refer a friend or family member, how happy are with
NPS score. At the end of every session, you do an NPS
we do at the end of the eval, and then also we find that most people are dropping off around the 3rd visit, so we ask them to do a survey then, and we're also asking them, hey, on a scale of 1 to 100%, 1 to 10, how happy were you with the results so far? On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you right now that you're going to get the X results that you signed up for?
Yeah.
How satisfied are you with like the front desk? And then what's your main goal that you're aiming for? What goals have you accomplished so far?
Yep. I love it. Guys, we covered a ton here today. There's definitely a lot more to be discussed, but we'll save it for another episode. But if you just implement the few tips that Ben shared here today that we covered, you're going to be in really good shape, and you can very easily increase your profitability and reduce your marketing costs just by implementing these insanely simple things that you can add to your operation. So if you have questions about any of this or would like to work with Ben, myself, and the rest of the clinical marketer team to help scale your practice, build better lead acquisition systems, build better operating systems to retain patients longer to increase your profit, go to clinicalmarketer.com and apply to work with us. We'd love to help you put together a custom game plan to grow your